right, let's turn to boxing right now, and a big fight in Las Vegas last night. And if you stayed up till around 3 in the morning, maybe you got a chance to see it, as DAZN delayed the main event between Canelo-Alvarez and Sergey the Crusher Kovalev until after the UFC fight in New York City was over, the Masvidal-Diaz fight. So if you stayed up late, you saw a pretty good fight. Canelo in trouble, losing on most scorecards after 10 rounds, and then wins in the 11th. So let's get to the expert on all this. So Montero on Boxing, the great YouTube channel, and also a Ring Magazine writer. It's the great Mike Montero. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's up, Dave? How you doing, man?
I'm good. So, did you stay up? Did the main event come off before we moved the clocks back at 2 in the morning last night?
Actually, it ended just after that. Yeah, the main event started, I think, about 1:20 a.m. East Coast time, and I was doing live commentary on my channel, my YouTube channel, and boy, it was a rough one. I mean, it didn't get finished till well after 2 a.m. It was just one of those times. Apparently, they were showing the UFC fight there in the MGM Grand Garden Arena, which is just bizarre. That's odd. I can't think of any time that's ever happened, Dave.
You think it was a good idea to delay it that late, and maybe trying to build a relationship with Dana White and UFC, maybe do some co-promotions in the future? You know, there's a lot of mixed martial arts stuff on DAZN, but that sure ticked off a lot of boxing fans seeing their reaction on social media last night.
Yeah, I mean, the reaction was not good from most folks on social media, and then from people that actually paid for their ticket to go to the MGM Grand for boxing. They didn't buy a ticket to see MMA. So I know a lot of fans that were in attendance were pretty upset about it. Between the co-main and the main event, there was about 90 minutes, a 90-minute delay. So it was just brutal watching the broadcast on DAZN. I mean, the commentators did a good job, but what can you talk about for 90 minutes, before the fight? So it was pretty brutal. And I mean, there in the arena, you could go get drinks or whatever, but yeah, it was just bizarre last night, Dave. Or actually, I should say this morning.
Well, as for the fight itself, Sergey Kovalev ahead on 2 of the judges' cards, a draw on a third, and most of the media had him comfortably ahead after 10 rounds, and it looked like he was going to win the fight going into round 11.
Well, there's some debate about the scorecards. I think that 2 judges had 86-85. I want to say for Canelo. I don't remember for sure, but I think it was 86-85 for Canelo, and then one added a draw. But there were some fans that had it virtually a shutout for Kovalev on Twitter, and then there were plenty of folks that thought it was a close fight. I thought it was a close fight 10 rounds through. I thought it was competitive. I thought that Kovalev controlled the early rounds, but Canelo made some ground in the middle rounds. It was a story of, it's kind of 2 different fights, Dave, because Kovalev was much more active. He was throwing more punches, but he was also missing a lot, and he actually wasn't punching with a lot of power. Canelo wasn't punching much, but he was very accurate, and his punches mattered. He started to kind of wear down Kovalev, and then, of course, he stopped him in the 11th round with a good 3-punch combination. It was a right, left, right, and Kovalev was on the canvas for a good 30 seconds.
It's interesting how different these referees are. Tyson Fury gets knocked down in the 12th by Deontay Wilder, and the referee gives him every chance to recover, even though his eyes were rolling in his head, and he winds getting back up. But here, as soon as that right hand landed, the referee came in and waved it off immediately last night.
Yeah, I think, there's a few things that factor into that. I think, Sergey Kovalev, he was knocked out. Now, he was knocked out by Andre Ward in their rematch, but I'm not even going to talk about that because those are low blows, and, that's a controversial stoppage. But he fought Alvarez, a Canadian fighter, last year and was knocked out. He was dropped 3 times and knocked out. Sergey fought just 10 weeks ago, and was almost knocked out against Anthony Yarde, who really is a prospect and had never fought anybody with a pulse. And he admitted he didn't even spar for that fight. So Sergey's, he's getting older. He's in his late 30s. Has been stopped a couple times, and I do think that played into the ref jumping in really quickly. But if you look at Sergey's body, the way that there was a right hand kind of to the ear that Canelo landed that backed him up, and he was on shaky legs. And then there was a left hook that landed to the temple, and his legs immediately went. And the last right hand on the chin, I mean, Sergey was done. He was absolutely done at that point. He didn't complain at all with the stoppage.
Mike Montero Unboxing with Dave Smith here at SB Nation Radio and SBNationRadio.com. And, the reports from your lovely fiancée, Tiffany, said you kind of conked out and fell asleep before the main event last night. Is that true? We could get another man card violation here.
Yeah, you know what? We went out and had dinner and a couple of drinks. And, here's the thing, Dave. I saw the fighters taking naps, okay? I saw Canelo and Kovalev taking a nap. So I thought, you know what? What the hell? I'm going to lay down on my couch and take a nap. And then she actually went to bed. She had enough, and she went to bed. So she didn't even see the main event till last night. She watched it this morning. But, yeah, it was just bizarre that they let that UFC fight play out. I can't think of a time when that's happened before.
You think we'll ever see the day? I don't know if it's ever happened before, where they will have a half UFC, half boxing show, like where they drop the cage down from the ceiling and have a couple of UFC fights, and then bring the cage back up and put the boxing ropes up, and then have a boxing show to do a co-promotion in the same arena on the same night.
I think there have actually been club shows like that. I think Roy Jones Jr. has done some shows like that in the past. But I don't think it will ever work. They're actually very different sports. And when you look at the demographics are very different. So at the club level, I think something like that could exist. But on a big stage, no way. There's just no way. And then also the pay structure is so different. Last night, Canelo Alvarez made $35 million. Sergey Kovalev made $12 million. I think the fighters on the UFC show made a few $100,000, if that. So the pay scale is so vastly different at the very top of boxing as it relates to all other martial arts. So I don't see that ever happening.
Are we going to see Triple G Canelo 3, or is Canelo going to stay up at 75? Or what's next for him?
Yeah, that's the question on everyone's mind, Dave. Look, I got to say this. A lot of people, are really excited about Canelo's win yesterday, and it was a good quality win by him. He did what he had to do. I get it. But Sergey Kovalev was seen as the most vulnerable of all the title holders at light heavyweight. The real guy right now at 175 is another Russian guy, Artur Beterbiev, who just unified titles, and he's the lineal champion. He beat Alexander Vojnik, a very good Ukrainian fighter, just a few weeks back. I don't think Canelo Alvarez wants any part of him. So, no, I don't think he's going to stay at 175. I think this was a very calculated risk that they took with Kovalev, a big name, but a guy who was long in the tooth and vulnerable. I think he's going to go down. I think he's going to go – now, is he going to go all the way back down to 160? I don't see that happening. I think he's probably going to go to 168. So if the third fight with Golovkin happens, and it's very possible it could still happen, I think it's going to happen either at some kind of catch weight or at the full 168-pound super middleweight limit.
Hey,
and that benefits Canelo a lot.
Is Tiffany around to verify that you stayed up through the main event, Mike Montero? Can she come on there and verify that?
She's actually asleep again.
Oh,
She's
no.
already in bed.
I've only...
You could go on my YouTube channel and see my broadcast from last night.
I've only given out one man card violation to a woman in all the years I've been doing this. She might be getting close here, conking out early like this.
Twice in a row, Dave, I got to say, I got to say, man.
Hey,
now,
Mike,
she did cook a great dinner tonight. She cleaned up the house.
There you go. So. I saw some pictures of Andy Ruiz Jr. training, and he looks a lot leaner and a lot thinner this time. Looks like he's in better shape for the rematch with Anthony Joshua. But is that a good thing? Will he lose some power? And would you say maybe if it ain't broke, don't fix it after what he did the first time?
Well, I think that the impression before Andy Ruiz went into training camp for this rematch is that he kind of partied a little bit and was enjoying the success of scoring that big upset against Joshua in the first fight. However, when he went to camp, when he first went to Saudi Arabia, he looked pudgy. He always looks a little heavy, but he looked even heavier. But, yeah, we've seen some photos come out in the last week or so. He looks really good. I think it's a good thing because it shows that he's dedicated. He's taking it seriously. He's not trying to be the next Buster Douglas. After Buster Douglas shocked the world against Mike Tyson, his very next title defense against Evander Holyfield, we all saw what happened, right? Andy Ruiz doesn't want to be that guy. So I think he's taking this rematch. Right? Yeah. There you go. Yeah, Hakeem Rahman. There's been plenty of them throughout boxing history, especially at heavyweight. And he just doesn't want to be the next one. So I think it's the right move. The key to this fight for Andy isn't really being big or powerful. It's being fast. That's how he won the first fight. It was his hand speed. It was his combination punching that caught Joshua with punches he didn't see coming. That's his key to victory here. So I think it's the right play.
Mike Montero on Buck. Tell us all how we can see you on your YouTube channel, which is growing by leaps and bounds, and also writing for Ring Magazine.
Yeah, Ring Magazine, next issue, next month, I'm going to have not one but 2 articles in the next issue, so be sure to check that out. And then anywhere on social media, Twitter, YouTube, Montero on Boxing. And I do a live podcast every Monday and Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's called The Neutral Corner. We'll have a loaded show tomorrow breaking down the big fight and then talking about the conspiracy theories, Dave, because now everyone's saying online that Sergey Kovalev took a dive and this whole thing was fixed, which is ridiculous.
Oh, he didn't do a very good job at taking a dive, of winning the first 10 rounds, did he? It usually doesn't work that way.
If I'm taking a dive, Dave, I'm not going to wait till the 11th round and take it on the chin. I'm going to bow out in the first round and just take my money.
Absolutely. I'm getting the heck out of there. What's going on with Errol Spence Jr. right now? It's just Mike, miraculous that he flipped the Ferrari 3 times and the Ferrari was completely total. And we all saw the accident on the security cameras, and to come out of that thing with only bumps and bruises and no broken bones was a miracle that he wasn't killed. But we haven't heard much from him. Have you heard anything about what his health is like here after that accident?
So his health apparently is good. The worst he had, I think, was some damage to his jaw and some missing teeth. However, we don't know how it's going to affect him in the ring. I mean, that we'll just have to wait and see. But he is facing DWI charges. And I think that the reason why there's kind of been this hush from his management, and they're not speaking and they're not allowing him to speak, is because of that legal situation. I think maybe they want to wait until that's sorted out before they come out and start speaking publicly or anything. But I think, honestly, Dave, they're missing a huge opportunity. I think that Errol Spence could spin this thing into a positive and talk about the dangers of drunk driving and driving without a seatbelt, in the middle of the night. I mean, he made not just one mistake, but multiple mistakes. And as you said, it's just a miracle he's alive, let alone the fact he'll be able to fight again. So there's a huge opportunity for him here to turn this into a positive, publicly. And so far, they're blowing that opportunity, in my opinion. And
he got thrown through the windshield, too, didn't he, on top of everything else?
He was ejected from the car and apparently landed on his face. That's how he broke his teeth. So it just baffles the mind how he didn't break any bones, let alone, survive. It's insane.
Wow, it's unbelievable. All right, great stuff as always. So it's Montero on Boxing on YouTube, so you can always find him there. Read his 2 columns coming out on Ring Magazine, and no man card violations tonight because the wife went to bed early and couldn't rat you out again. So lucky for you.
Hey, it worked out this time. We'll see what happens next time.
All right, Mike, great stuff as always. There he goes, the great Mike Montero with Dave Smith here at SB Nation Radio and SBNationRadio.com.